At this point, Ambassador Suresh Kumar Goyal, Wing Commander Praful Bakshi and Major Mohd Ali Shah. Major Shah, as far as Russia is concerned, we've made several statements about Indian interests and how we will put our interests first as far as our oil purchase from Russia is concerned. Like Ambassador Goyal said, extensive and exhaustive intense deliberations between the two countries have taken place. From that point of view, do you think this will continue even after this visit, and what is the Indian interest that Jaishankar will be putting forth during this visit?
Gauri, very good question. Firstly, I think the Indian interest, for example, we are still buying cheap oil from Russia despite the displeasure of US. So what? We will look after our self-interest first. Now, we would look after, for example, oil and our bilateral ties with Russia. We are friends with Russia, we are friends with Ukraine, we are friends with the West nation. We have no problem with anyone for that matter. So no one should also have a problem with us actually going and visiting any country which we feel like. So we have an independent foreign policy over there. Now, when we talk about, because he would be meeting Sergei Lavrov, his counterpart, the Russian foreign minister. And I have, though of course, most certainly it cannot happen that you meet any Russian. Even if we meet a normal Russian, we are not as diplomats, as a normal citizen, we will definitely ask, right, how is the situation in Russia, what happened, or we meet anybody from Ukraine for that matter, out of concern. So yes, most certainly regarding the war, they would discuss it, but India had made its stand very clear earlier itself, when India tried to bring peace. Russia had tried, Turkey had tried, Israel had tried. Now, India does not really want to meddle in other affairs too much. India is just looking after its self-interest, and why not so? We are not a very rich country. Our money does not grow on trees for us, so our people work hard. So definitely our Indian politicians, that is the Indian diplomats and the lawmakers and the policy makers would look after their Indian interests first. So mostly it was going to be just strengthening the bilateral ties, and regarding the oil, Gauri, is what I see it as.
Right. Getting focus to the summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will unveil the logo, theme and website of India's G20 presidency on Tuesday, which is today. He will travel to Bali, Indonesia next week to participate in the G20 summit, with the presidency passing on to India. India was to chair the G20 later, but with the general election in 2024, New Delhi requested Indonesia, which was to originally take over the presidency this year, to swap the presidency years. The G20 summit to be held next year will be one of the high-profile international gatherings to be hosted by India, said the Ministry of External Affairs. Making the announcement about the logo, the MEA said, the G20 presidency offers a unique opportunity to India to contribute to the global agenda on pressing issues of international importance. The logo, theme and website of India's G20 presidency will reflect the country's message and overreaching priorities to the world. We'll discuss COP27 in greater detail in just a bit, sir. But before that, I'd also like to know from Wing Commander Bakshi and Major Shah what they think India's priorities should be. Major Shah, with you first.
Gauri, as I said earlier, our self-interest always have to come first before anything else. And so most certainly I'll give you a small example. Just yesterday, a picture went viral on social media of the Pakistani Prime Minister in Egypt, and he is attending a diplomatic meeting, a head of state's meeting, and he is too busy in his phone. He is not interested in meeting anybody else. He's not really keen on where others were interacting with each other. So that's a difference between two nations which were almost, they started a journey. I'm not saying they took birth at the same time. India was born much before that, but they started a journey at the same time. And look at it. I mean, we have India on the verge of becoming a superpower. We have another nation, which I'm not saying Imran Khan has said this, that they are right now going on with a begging bowl like beggars. These are words of Imran Khan. So now when we have that, we can see a live example. What happened yesterday in the head of states meeting, in the foreign delegation meeting. Everyone saw it. It was, in fact, it was tweeted by PTI, by Imran Khan's party. And India, on the other hand, we are here, we have our foreign minister, our external affairs minister going to Russia amidst the war, amidst the crisis. We have the G20 summit, we have in March and April, we saw so many Indians, so many diplomats coming to India, so many head of states coming to India. So that is the difference. So when we maintain good ties with all the nations, irrespective there's a crisis or not, irrespective. So obviously, I mean, we stand tall in the order of respect in the international community, Gauri, and so when we go ahead and strengthen our diplomatic ties with other nations, it only keeps India in good stead.
Climate Change Summit, which is currently underway in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, and India is at the heart of things. Union Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav, representing India at the summit, inaugurated the India Pavilion and spoke about India's commitment to green and sustainable energy through the policies of the government. A historic development. For the first time ever, the conference has compensation to third world countries for damage caused by climate change is part of the agenda for the conference. Mr. Shah, do you agree that it's not just compensation, it's also tech transfer, it's human resources, expertise transfer, which is also required for third world countries like India to take the lead, which we are already taking the lead, but in terms of moving forward with clean tech?
Absolutely, Gauri, 100%, and you are bang on there. And it is not just there is a lot more, that meets the eye. There is a lot more that actually one has to contribute. For example, the climate change conference which is happening at the Sharm el-Sheikh Convention Center in Egypt, 16 to 18 November, 12 days. It's a very, very good idea. Now, climate change has become a problem for the entire world. National calamities, disaster, like. We saw a flood in Pakistan where thousands of people died from June. This can happen anywhere, not just Pakistan. And of course, India sent its sympathies through a tweet. Our Prime Minister tweeted. Now, the formation of Quad, which is now to curb the Chinese aggression, America, Australia, Japan, and India. India is a strategic partner. The formation of Quad also happened after tsunami. So global warming is a major issue again. So we saw summers, we saw heat in Delhi, we saw abnormal rain, we saw abnormal summers, abnormal winters. This is a major problem, and a national calamity is something beyond their control. For example, a man-made disaster, okay fine, I can imagine. Like Russia-Ukraine is a man-made disaster which is going on right now. But what do we do for a national calamity, and how prepared are we? The National Disaster Management Committee, unfortunately, let me be very blunt in saying, in India especially, we do not really take national calamities. We've had landslides, we've had tragedies at Vaishno Mata, the pilgrims have suffered. But unfortunately, we do not take national calamities and such disasters very, very seriously unless and until it actually strikes us. So they always say prevention is better than cure. So, but why is it that only when, I'll give for example, like, when we have a dental problem, we will not go to a dentist unless we have a pressing problem where the tooth actually starts aching and you can't sleep the entire night. Only then we will decide to go to a dentist. Why can't we keep things in order throughout, so that even when such a calamity takes place, like the Nepal earthquake which happened, it devastated the entire of Nepal. India sent a lot of help, a lot of aid, because India is a good friend. So similarly, when we have a conference like that in Egypt, and the entire international community comes together and in support of each other, it is only a good sign. And yes, a lot can be done when we join hands together, Gauri.
All right, so those were the top 3 important international stories that we will be tracking closely. I'd like to thank all my guests for joining us on this broadcast.